a potentiometer. This is why in today's class we'll be learning how to use a potentiometer. Are you excited? Because potentiometer is used for sending varying voltage without using analogRead. Isn't it interesting? Using a potentiometer, you can just turn it like a fan's knob and you can send varying voltage. This is why I today I'm going to tell you how to use a potentiometer. So how does a potentiometer typically look like? So for that, I'm sharing my screen and showing you how does that look like. I hope you can see my screen clearly. Now I'm typing potentiometer. So in images, I will open up an image. I hope this is good. Uh, okay, done. Oh, not done, not done. This is the image. As you can see, it has three pins, just like servo motor, but however, it is a bit different from a servo motor. And in today's class, we are going to learn how to control a servo motor anger using a potentiometer. Are you excited? So let's see that. So before that, this is a potentiometer which typically looks like. This can rotate up to 180 or more than that degrees, but not 360 degrees. And here it has three pins, as you can see. Now, two of these, one, sorry, the if we see it from our front side, I have not got the image for that. If we see it from the front side, we will get the right pin as the PWM pin, and the remaining two pins, the middle pin will be negative pin or the negative terminal, which will be connected to ground, and the pin at the leftmost from the front side will be connected to 5 volts. So that's the connection how each and every time we connect the potentiometer. So the pin at the leftmost from the front side will be connected to 5 volts. The middle pin will be connected to negative terminal, which is ground. And if we see from it from front side, the rightmost pin will be connected to anything to which we want to send a varying voltage, or it can also be called as PWM pin. And I hope you remember why what is PWM. Pulse width modulation for sending varying voltage. So let's go and start how to use the potentiometer. But before that, as I had shown you the image right now, do you know how we are going to control it using our control servo motor using it? I will tell you. As we turn the knob, we are going to code our Arduino in such a way that it will read how much angle it is turned, and in the similar way, the servo motor will turn from 0 to 180 degrees. However, for reading how much angle it is turned, we will connect a PWM pin to our Arduino board. Okay, and we will read the output to how much it can range from 0 to 1023. Whenever you are using read function or write function, the voltage is sent from the range of 0 to 120 1023. You can read any type of a sensor, for example, flame sensor. When flame is not present, it may give you output of 100, 101, 199, 102. And if flame is near it, it will give an output of 300, 400, 310, 302 in such a way. Okay. So in the similar way, the outputs can be from 0 to 1023. So how are we going to change it to angles? Because we can't turn it up to 1023 degrees. You can just turn from 0 to 180 degrees, and that's done. So this is why there's no choice for us. So now I'm going to simply tell you the logic. And today we are going to learn two things of potentiometer. I hope you're excited. It may take a bit longer, but it's really very interesting. First of all, in today's class, first thing which we are going to learn is to use a potentiometer to send varying voltage to LED. That's pretty cool, and it needs no coding. So that's is going to be quite short. So as I told you, we will first do that. And by doing that, as I told you about the connections, we will first connect, just one more minute. Okay, so it's done. I'm starting to share my screen again, and it's done. I'm opening the image which I just now saved for you. So this is the image. As you can clearly see, the image is very good and the clarity is good. So this is why I have downloaded this image. So as you can see, if we see the potentiometer from the front side, the rightmost pin will be the PWM pin, which can send varying voltage. The middle pin will be the negative terminal of potentiometer, which will be connected to ground of Arduino. Please remember this because this will be whenever you're using a potentiometer, you must connect it. Right? You cannot just hold it in air and rotate it. Oh, I'm sending varying voltage. No, you will have to connect it. So the middle pin of potentiometer will always be connected to the negative terminal. And if while seeing from the front side of potentiometer, the leftmost pin will be connected to the positive terminal or the 5 volts. So the leftmost pin will be connected to 5 volts, the middle pin will be connected to ground, and the rightmost pin from the front side will be connected to any object to which we want to send varying voltage or to read the varying voltage. Okay, to read the varying voltage, nothing we are going to connect it to our Arduino, and then we are going to read. That is our second part. First, we are going to learn how to send varying voltage using a potentiometer to a LED. And that's pretty simple. I think that you have come to know what we are going to do today. Yes. So this pin, the leftmost pin of the potentiometer will be connected to 5 volts. Okay, I will edit. Oh, I can't edit. Okay, no problem. However, the leftmost pin from the front side will be connected to 5 volts. As you can see my arrow, this pin will be connected to the 5 volts and the middle pin will be connected to ground. Please follow. And then the rightmost pin, this will be connected to send varying voltage. And because we want to send varying voltage to our LED, we'll simply connect this to the positive terminal of LED. Or if you don't know, the longer pin of LED. Okay, if you connect this one to longer terminal of LED, then you are connecting the PWM pin of potentiometer to the simply I think that you are not understanding properly. I'll simply add some lines. Uh, okay, no problem. So the leftmost pin which is present here, that will be connected to ground 5 volts. Please remember that the leftmost pin from the front side to 5 volts, the middle pin ground, and the rightmost pin from the front side will be connected to our LED. LED is positive terminal or the longer pin, and the shorter terminal of LED will be connected to ground, and that's it. Quite simple circuit, and I hope you will be able to do it. And it's no programming is needed because no programming is needed. So I will repeat once, but please remember properly. The leftmost pin of a potentiometer is always connected to 5 volts, and the middle pin of potential is always connected to ground, and the rightmost pin from the front side of potentiometer is always connected to the thing to which we want to send varying voltage or to read the varying voltage. And because we want to send a varying voltage to LED, this will be connected to positive terminal of LED, which is the longer pin of LED, and the shorter pin will be connected to ground. And that's the pretty simple and pretty easy. You can do it quite easily. Believe me, it's really easy. You have to just attach the potentiometer to Arduino and the LED as well. As I told you, the leftmost pin from the front side will be connected to the 5 volts. The middle pin from the front side will be connected to ground, and the rightmost pin from the potential from the front side will be connected to our LED's positive terminal, or else the LED's longer pin. The shorter pin will be connected to ground. Done. Pretty simple and no coding is required. I know that it will may be difficult for you to remember. So you may download the video or else you can pause and bring all the components and start connecting and replay the video sometimes so that you can understand clearly. Okay, so it's now time for our ending thing and most favorite thing, and that's creating a potentiometer reader, according to which the potentiometer is turned, the servo will also rotate. Isn't it interesting? So I will again start screen sharing and you again start seeing my screen and see how I code. So I hope, and like every day I'm opening Arduino IDE. Open up, open up. It's opening up. Oh, so it's opening up. Yes, it's done. Okay, so it's done. I'm opening Arduino IDE, a new page. Okay, done. So first of all, today we are going to use analog read function. Okay, it's pretty easy and pretty simple. Okay, analog read can give us a range of output from 0 to 1023. I'm showing here. Look, uh, analog read may give output from 0 to 1023. Okay, remember this thing because this is not going to change. This is fixed and it gives the output from just 0 to 1023. So that's pretty simple and it must be pretty simple. So today we are going to use analog read function. But first we are going to connect our potentiometer to our Arduino board. For that, we are going to create a connection using const int and pot pin because it's connected to a potentiometer. This is why I have written pot pin is equal to, we will connect it to analog pin 1, 2, 3. Which pin? Let's connect it to analog pin 3. It's done. And now for reading the output from pot pin, we are creating a variable called as sorry, pot value. And we are going to read the data from pot pin and then we are going to store it in pot value. And because the output can be from 0 to 1023, I'm 100% sure that we cannot turn the servo motor from 0 to 1023 because it can turn from only 0 to 180 degrees. So this is why we are going to change it to angle. But for that I'm creating one more integer in which the angle will be saved. And now let's classify the pin as output. How do we classify it as output? Using pin mode. Please see all my tutorials because all the tutorials are linked to each other like a spider web. So this is why watch all the tutorials and you will be full of knowledge how to program Arduino. So we're using pin mode and then we'll use our pin, sorry, pot pin, comma, because it is an input from which we are going to read a value. It will be we will be writing input. So I know that it is a bit difficult, but whenever we are programming you must be thinking a little bit logical. I know that a potentiometer is not a sensor and it may not give us data, but sorry, it gives data but it's not a sensor. So I'm thinking, should I write input or should I write output? But because we are getting data from it, you should write it input. Okay, and now in loop we are going to read the data. So this is the most excited part and very exhilarating because the first time when I understood how to use this nearly 7 to 8 months ago, I was very excited. So now I'm going to share it with you. First, in which we are going to store the output which we get from our connection, which is pot pin to connect it to analog 3. We are going to store it in pot value. So we'll write pot value is equal to analog read. And what pin we are going to read? So we are going to read pot pin. It's pretty simple. First, we are going to read our analog pin 3 or the connection made called as pot pin. So for reading that, we will have to store it in some variable, right? This is why I had created this variable pot value in which I use it to store our analog output. So like whatever the output is from pot pin, we receive it in pot value. And then while creating changing it to angle, we must remember that 0 to 1023 should be converted to 0 to 1080. So there is a pretty simple work how we can do it. I have opened a calculator. So we want a number by which after dividing it by some number, it should become 180. So 1023 should be divided by such a number that it should become 180. So how are we going to do that? We will first divide it by 180. So we will have to divide it by 5.683. So I am going to simply do that. And now the angle will be stored in the variable which we have created called as angle. So angle is equal to pot value divided by 5.683. Just we will review our calculation. 1023 divided by 5.683. How much is it becomes? So exactly correct, 180. So this is what we wanted. We wanted an angle between 0 to 1080. But the problem was the output is from 0 to 1023. So we found a perfect solution that whenever we divide 1023 with 5.683, we get a number from range 0 to 1023. And it's simple. And now the last job what we are going to do is we are going to turn the servo according to the angle. But we forgot one thing. We forgot to add the library. I know it might sound a bit absurd and quite like a mad person, but yes, I forgot. So first I will add the library, but for that I will have to select my board. Then let's add library called as servo. I think yes, I got it. And then we will create a servo object. We'll call it as, what should we call it? Knob. We'll call it knob. You can also write it as noob. It's your wish. Then we'll connect our servo object made by the library name in the last tutorial. Okay. In the last tutorial, what we had learned, we have to control a servo motor, we will have to include the library. Then using the library name, we have to create a servo object. So here we have created a servo object called as knob using the library name servo. Okay. So knob dot attach. Which pin are we going to attach it? Simple. To a PWM pin. So 11, 10, 9, and 6, 5, and 3. So you may review it. So for now, I'm connecting it to digital pin 9, which is a PWM pin. You must connect it to a PWM pin, okay? Or else the knob will not turn. Then the last job, simply write our servo object knob dot write. Pretty simple but full of logic. Knob dot write the angle which we had received. So you may be thinking why I'm writing directly angle, because it should be from 0 to 1023 180, but angle because first we read the value from pot pin and we stored it in pot value, and then from pot value we will have to convert it to 0 to 180. So we divided it by 5.683 and we stored it in angle, the variable which we have created here. As you can see here, I have highlighted it, and then that variable we will be using to control our servo motor. Pretty simple. But the logic is different. So let me comment the code and tell you about the code. So first, what we have done, we have included the library. Include the library. Okay. Then create a servo object. That is also done. Then create connection with potentiometer. to read the output. Okay, so we simply created a connection to connect the potentiometer's rightmost pin to our Arduino so that we can read how much it is turned. Okay, from a range of 0 to 1023. It is not it, if it is not turned at all, it will give an output of 0. And if it is turned at the max, it will give us the output of 23. Sorry, 1023. So it's pretty simple. We created a connection to analog pin because if we use digital pin, it can give output from 0 or 1, and that is not enough. We need output big so that we can use the output and convert it to angle so that our servo can turn. And then in pot value, create a variable for saving, saving the output of potentiometer. So what do we do here is whatever output we get from potentiometer, we save it in a variable called as pot value. We can name it anything as I have told you. And angle, one more variable. Create a variable for saving the converted value of create a variable for saving the converted value of potentiometers out. Okay, so this we created a connection, we created one variable, and we created one more variable. So first we create a connection to get value from potentiometers PWM pin, which is the rightmost pin from the front side. And to store the output what we get from potentiometer, we create one variable called as pot value. And in one more variable, what we do is we create one more a variable called as angle, in which the value which is received in pot value from our connection, it converts it to angle, and then it is stored in the variable angle. And then here is our pin mode, classifying connection as input. Done. And then attaching servo to a PWM pin. Then what do we do is we had created a variable to store the output we get from the analog pin 3 or the pot pin, which in which we had used it to create a connection. So we read that pot pin using analog read function, and we store it in our another variable called as pot value. So of storing of potentiometers output in a variable. Then we convert the output from potentiometer to angle using a simple mathematical expression. First, we use our variable angle, in which the converted angle is stored. Angle is equal to pot value, the output from the potentiometer, and divided by 5.683. Storing the converted output from potentiometer to angle from 0 to, we had used this variable and done all this mathematics to do what? to create the output from the potentiometer to a range of 0 to 1080. And then lastly, we simply turn the servo motor according to which the angle is turned. So we turn the servo motor according to the turn of potentiometer. And this is the full stop. Done. It is quite lengthy, but really very interesting, isn't it, friends? So I hope you were very happy and excited to all do all this. But I know it's a bit confusing. So I'm going to repeat all the instructions if you want. So actually you can't answer, but okay, I will repeat everything. First, the connections. So what are the connections? I will tell you first. So first of all, what the connections are? First connected our potentiometer to Arduino and a servo motor to Arduino. Both of them are connected to Arduino. So how are they going to be connected? We had declared in our code that the servo is connected to PWM pin 9 or digital pin 9. So we have to connect the PWM pin of servo motor to digital pin 9, and then the 5-volt pin of servo motor is to be connected to 5 volt, and ground pin should be connected to ground. Done. Then comes the time of potentiometer, which is bit tricky, and a small misconnection will lead to full, like everything may go wrong. Okay, so we have to see a potentiometer from the front side. Just turn it and see it from front side. The pin you see at the leftmost should be connected to 5 volts. The middle pin should be connected to ground on the Arduino Uno board, and the rightmost pin should be connected to analog pin 3, as I had shown in the code. Here we have connected it to analog pin 3. Okay, so we connected it to analog pin 3, and this is all the connections. You may pause the video, you may replay the video again and again if you want for understanding more. Okay, because I can't repeat the connections all the time. And now I'm again minimizing and I will show you the code. So first we include the servo library using going to sketch, that include library, and here servo. Then we create a servo object using the library name servo. This is done for our servo motor. And then we have also connected our Arduino to potentiometer, right? So it should read value from it. So we'll also have to create a connection, and then all these variables. So first we created a connection using const int pot pin. I named it pot pin because it is connected to potentiometer, or else you can write anything. Pot pin is equal to A3 or analog 3. You cannot write analog, you have to write A3. And then we create a variable using int called as pot value. This is where the output from our analog pin 3 or the connection made with potentiometer's PWM pin, which is at the rightmost side if seen from front side. So we read the output from the potentiometer and store it in the variable pot value. And then, but the output can be from 0 to 1023, as I told you. So we don't want that. We want the output to be 0 to 180 degrees so that we can turn our servo motor. So we create one more variable in which the converted value will be stored. I wrote it as angle to be easy. You can write as anything. Then using simple pin mode, we created a classified the pot pin connect, which is a analog pin 3 as input. And then I attached the servo object to digital pin 9. Then it comes the main part or the most logical part in void loop. So first, what as I had told you, using the variable pot value, I use the variable pot value as I'm showing you. I use the variable pot value and I use it to store the output which I get from the pot pin or which is connected to the potentiometer. So using pot value is equal to analogRead pot pin. To store the output from potentiometer is stored in pot value. And then to convert it to angle from a range of 0 to 1023, sorry, 180 180, 0 to 180, we simply divide the output of potentiometer, which is stored in pot value, by 5.683, and we store it in an angle. Okay, so that's easy. And the last thing is use the servo object created and write dot right angle, or in which the angle of the potentiometer is turned is stored. Isn't it interesting, friends? It was pretty simple, and I hope you enjoyed today's session. But we didn't do our last job, last and most important. So let's do that. We saved it, we will open it, and we'll check it. Like, this is the most important job for me. Whenever I do anything, really any project, I always check it. You might think, am I not sure about my own code? But that's not the thing. We'll always have to verify it once, and I always keep it on verifying it in the middle. The most horrifying thing, or the most, oh, it opened up. Okay, so include servo library. We include the library. We create a servo object here, and then we create a connection with potentiometer. We use a variable for saving the output from potentiometer. We create a variable to store the angle which is converted from the output got from potentiometer. We classify the pot pin or the connection as input, and we attach the servo motor in setup and loop. The main thing, we first read the output from our pot pin or the connection and store it in pot value, and then we convert the pot value to an angle of the range 0 to 180 by dividing it by 5.683 and store it in a variable angle. And by using knob dot right and angle, we turn the servo motor according to the turn of potentiometer. So it was really very exciting for me to teach you, and let's verify the code to see whether I'm perfect or not. I'm always perfect. And that's done, 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 done. As I am always perfect, and it's done, and it shows that there's no mistake. And we have completed our class, and I hope you loved my session. And please like, subscribe to my channel, and share this video among your friends who love Arduino, because these sessions are incredible, as I tell you. But if you find it interesting, please write in the comments below, or if you are live, write in the live chat so that I can read the comments. And bye bye. The live session for tomorrow is going to come tomorrow sharp at 3:30 p.m. So be ready.